Hello and welcome to Points of Interest. I'm one of your hosts, Jake, along with my co-host, James, over here.
Hey, guys.
If you're new to the show, this is Inverted Reality's gaming news podcast. Normally, every Thursday at 10 a.m., we collect video game news and stories from around the internet, bring them to one place just for you. You can get the show on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher for the audio versions, YouTube, most of the time VidMe, and Facebook for video versions. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IRGames. Stay up to date on what we're doing. We'll let you know when things are happening, such as today when the show is releasing on Friday instead of Thursday.
That's
because
right.
Yesterday was Thanksgiving.
You got it. Yeah, yesterday for you guys. Yesterday was Thanksgiving. We're both going to family, going out of town. We're going Black Friday shopping.
We're essentially going to the same place.
Yeah, we'll be
where
15
we're going. We'll be
minutes
15 minutes apart from each other
because our families are very close together. But
the show is a bit different today.
It
James.
is a bit different. We've got a guest this week. We've been hearing a lot about EA, about microtransactions, loot boxes, all that crap.
That's all we've talked about for the last
month. It feels like it's all we've been talking about. So we've got a guest. His name is SteveOfWarr, and welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here.
Awesome. So for our listeners that haven't heard of you for some inalienable reason, tell us a little bit about your channel.
It's quite possible. Yeah, I am not known. Well, basically, I review games and I also sort of cover some bad movies on the side. Do a little bit of kind of analytical style with a bit of comedy thrown in. I sort of try and point out things that maybe other people might have missed. I tend to go quite not full detail with my stuff, but I try to at least play all the games that I review fully to my best first before actually giving an opinion, because I feel that kind of forms a better basis of what I do. But yeah, I do that. I do slightly short sketches with my friends as well. In fact, you guys are part of the same kind of group that I formed with a few of my friends, which is Second Invite, which you can check out at secondinvite.com. And that has like me, Inverted Reality, you guys obviously, I don't know why I'm referring to you in the third person, and the Stone Man, Cousin Ed, and all kinds of other crazy people you can check out too. So yeah, that is me. I am Steve.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Steve definitely does some very technical stuff. He goes into a lot of detail. So if you like detail-oriented information, he's your guy.
It's pretty fascinating to watch, honestly.
It is.
I don't watch a lot of things that have that big a detail. But
yeah, I wish you could put your videos out more, because it's because you go into so much work with it, you aren't able to do them quite as often.
I know. I feel you. I mean, my video upload schedule has taken a bit of a hit as of recent, but it's because I guess I'm a bit too much of a perfectionist for my own good with certain things. I kind of edit some things in, and I sort of look back at it several times. I think, oh, that's all right, and then I take another fresh look at it, and it's like, not so much. So yeah, I kind of end up sort of wanting to put something out until in my weird OCD brain is absolutely perfect. But I'm trying to get better.
There you go. That helps.
I'm trying.
All right. So getting back to this lovely loot box topic. Our last podcast came out before EA canceled their microtransactions postponed, whatever you want to call it.
Temporarily.
But so we've talked a lot about it. And before we get on and immediately bash EA, because that's going to be most of the podcast.
That's going to be a solid
Let's
show.
be honest here. That's really why Steve signed up here. Jake, tell us a little bit about the origins of like loot boxes that we know today.
So just so we had a little bit of a background of what's going on, the first known instance of loot boxes, there might have been some back in the original Olympic Games, but
I was like, what Olympic Games?
You're talking about the physical Olympic Games, as in like Mario and Sonic in the Olympic Games type things. You're talking about like Usain Bolt basically getting a loot crate at the end of the 100-meter and then just opening it up and getting a gold medal or something.
I'm saying like back in the day, like
sort of thing.
You pay a certain amount of coins and they hand you a box and it might have shoes in it. It's perfect.
All right, that's
I would absolutely love that. I would love that if the actual Olympic Games had some kind of very blatant monetization factor to it. Like even if the person comes dead last, he still gets to open a crate, but it's completely up to what the crate has inside of it, randomized as to what they win. So
even better,
the person in first place could get a bronze or something.
Even better if you open it up, like maybe the conditions that you have to wear whatever's in it. So Usain Bolt opens it up and gets like 2 bricks. He has to wear bricks for shoes. I would watch those Olympics.
Like a clown wig, and every time he sort of sprints, goes sort of up every other step. That would just be, oh my God.
That's perfect.
You guys,
It's not fair. That guy got a car.
think we got a new video idea. Jeez.
Yeah, the guy who's in last place gets a car the next round. So like the next race or something, they get a car or something like a Volkswagen Beetle or something.
He got a Ducati.
Sorry, we just totally jumped all over you, Jake. You were saying?
Yeah, we did.
Sorry.
All right, so the first known instance of a loot box system is believed to be the Chinese free-to-play game ZT Online, released in 2007. So we're 10 years out from the first loot box.
Oh.
Look what it's become.
It's not too bad.
In Western regions, North America and Europe, around 2009, the video game industry saw the success of Zynga and other large publishers of social network games that offered the games for free sites like Facebook and offered microtransactions to accelerate one's progress in the game.
Oh, makes me think
Farmville and Texas Hold'em and stuff like that.
You know it.
I think it was actually Zynga was the company that Don Matrick, the guy who completely ballsed up the launch for the Xbox One, jumped ship to after he basically resigned. So he went from being the head of the Xbox company before Phil Spencer came in, and then he went over to Zynga. So it's like, yeah, it makes total sense, mate.
That's impressive. That's really good knowledge right there. That's a fun fact for us.
Yeah, no, I paid a lot of attention to that launch because it was that launch that put me off the console and made us switch to PlayStation.
Yeah, this is a pretty good reason to switch there, and they've only just given us reasons to continue that.
Not that it stopped us from buying Xboxes.
That's true.
Still.
We now have Xboxes, but that's a different thing. That's totally.
Congratulations, guys! You've bought into the consumerist machine.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, like buying into PlayStation wasn't buying into the consumerist machine.
Yeah, but it was
for the players, mate.
Yeah, it's a more trendy pick.
It's for the players, mate. None of this, like, I can use used games sort of nonsense and always online. Yeah,
right.
And Connect, because that was still a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about loot boxes, we see them in almost every game now. You know, it used to be only multiplayer games. Popular. See them all over the place. What's a game you guys think that maybe does loot boxes really well, like a positive thing?
I mean, do you want to go first? Sorry.
Nope, you good. Go for it, man.
I was going to say Overwatch.
Okay, perfect.
Because that seems like the obvious one.
Yeah. And it's always the example when people are like, well, how come you still do loot boxes like Overwatch?
Right.
Like, nobody hates loot boxes in Overwatch.
The Overwatch is one of those weird ones where it still is kind of responsible for today's culture, but it's also doing it in a way that's totally acceptable to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like a friend of mine who I game regularly with, Captain C. Fox, he is a heavy Overwatch player. With my friend Ed.
Hey, don't talk about his weight. That's not fair.
Yeah, he's a heavyweight champion of the world of Overwatch player in all categories. I don't know where I'm going with that. He eats pies. Well, basically,
like not pie slices.
He swears by Overwatch being completely fine because of the way they do it in its only cosmetics. Mm-hmm. It's nothing that gives players an immediate advantage over the other. You still earn them through leveling up rather than it being through credits or a kind of, I think there's no additional economy to it, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not much of a heavy
You're a lightweight Overwatch player.
I need to put on the pounds.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a bit of Overwatch. It's not something I'm good at. It's not my cup of tea, as British people would say. So the loot box, they earn them when you level up. During special events, sometimes the team hands them out. You have seasonal events for loot boxes, where there's stuff that's only available then. And all it is like you said, cosmetics. You got costumes, you get
different skins and
whatever else you do in Overwatch. And it's pretty good. They give you ways to earn them in game, but you can also buy them. Right. You can spend a ridiculous amount of money, and some people have.
People have spent like thousands of dollars in loot boxes in Overwatch just because they wanted a specific character.
They wanted a specific skin or something. There's like the seasonal skins. They're really well designed, to be fair. Credit to Blizzard. They know how to make stuff really well.
Yeah, it does. Everything they put out looks really good. And I get that whole, like, there's a carrot at the end of the stick. But I was like, it's just a lot of money to spend just to look slightly different than normal.
Yeah, Overwatch never really grabbed me. Like, getting a new skin is not a good carrot at the end of my stick. Like, because you can't like level up your character, right? Like you play as a character and you just get better at Overwatch. You don't like, it's not like Call of Duty or Battlefield where like I'm leveling up my character. You're just leveling up as a gamer.
Yeah.
It's your typical hero shooter kind of model where it's just one person with a set amount of moves and stats or play styles, and they don't change or get better. You just get better at using them in different situations. Like Rainbow Six Siege is what I played quite a bit of. It started off with loot crates, I think, or it had a completely different economy to what it has now. And now it's become really successful because it's got this long-term game, and all the operators that they release have different abilities. They don't. One's not objectively better than the other statistically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, you mentioned Rainbow Six Siege, and that's definitely not a game that I'm good at. Mainly because it requires patience, and I'm not a patient guy. I'm a tank, and tanks don't do well in Rainbow Six Siege. Really, Tom Clancy games at all are just bad for James. Like, it's just not a good situation.
A lot of like tactics and waiting involved.
But it's really good. I know that when they started, the big thing was that you could earn your operators within, you know, in-game stuff, or you could pay for them. And the problem at the beginning was it took so long to they were talking like 20 or 30 hours for like each operator. And there was, I don't know, 5 or 6 available to unlock. And so I know that they've gotten better. They did like a second year of DLC and everything was more balanced. But I think that's another good example. It's not necessarily a pay to win. It's just different.
It's just pay for different skins and
and a lot of it's a different styles.
But
you still got to be good at the game.
Yeah, you're still going to be quite good at the game. You still can buy operators, but the price to get operators, it still takes a while for good ones, like for the very new ones, if you don't have the season pass. It's like 25,000 or something like that for one of the new operators, which still requires a lot of grinding to get to that stage, but at least it's not as ridiculous as when it first sort of started. And they're very good at balancing, actually. Credit to Ubisoft. When that game first came out, it was terrible. They've now balanced it quite well. They seem quite
sounds like a Ubisoft game,
it was a game. It just takes some time.
Yeah. While you guys were talking, I was wondering, how do we feel about the GTA 5 microtransaction system?
Ooh.
Because I know guys that like get in there, like you can spend a bunch of money, but it doesn't make you really better. Like you buy like in-game currency, right? And you could just like you buy your boat, your cars, your guns, and
they call them shark cards, which is in-game money, and you go to ATMs to withdraw them, or they're just instantly deposited into your account. And that basically means that you can buy cooler cars, more weapons, more ammo, which does in some way give you an advantage, but not in competitive multiplayer. So if it's free roam, you've got more access to a bigger range of cars to drive around and tear stuff up in, and weapons to shoot with. But apart from that, I don't know. It is, again, one of those interesting things where, yes, that's very successful, as in a lot of people are still buying those shark cards, and they're still making Take-Two and Rockstar a lot of money.
It's still like the best-selling game
yelled
of all time.
about, or it doesn't seem to be causing as much of a stir as it should be, I think.
Really the only reason it's not is because it's an old game. I mean, it's not old, but I mean, we're talking this came out
relevant, though,
on the PS3 and the Xbox 360. It got remastered, 3 years ago, probably?
Yeah.
And so
something like that.
It's relevant, but at this point, I mean, there's no news articles that are going to be coming out about it, right? This is not like a big storied franchise that people think of for being really fair and awesome multiplayer. Like, who gets
Having said that...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, mate. Having said that, there was an article I sort of picked up on fairly recently where Take-Two themselves have basically outlined to people that they want microtransactions and this sort of system to be in all future titles from Take-Two. So expect to see loot crates in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, but if it's just like if it is like the way it is in GTA 5, because like how hard is it really to earn money in GTA? It's not.
You just got to do missions.
Exactly. You do missions, and it's really not that hard to get a lot of money quickly. And if you have friends, like you can do like all the heists and stuff, and you get a lot of money from doing those, and you have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the other thing GTA has going for it is all the DLC online is free. Like, yes, you pay a lot of money into it, but you get like awesome DLC.
Yeah,
like cool new mission sets or really cool races or anything. Like, I watch it all. I watch Achievement Hunter and Funhouse play through all of them, and it's just the coolest looking things, and it's all free.
I love the fact that they've basically turned Grand Theft Auto Online races now into Sonic Racing Transformed or Mario Kart 8, where they've got like transformation gates you can go through, and then all the courses and tubes that you can make that have all got these cool colors and ramps and stuff that you can make in the sky. It's basically like, you know, as a kid, you used to have, I don't know, you have to have Matchbox races, where you used to have like all the tracks and stuff. It's basically like that, but in digital form, which I think is quite fun.
They even made like a version where it was like top down. and you race
nice.
like those games.
That's
Oh
awesome.
It's
my
super
goodness.
cool.
That's cool. I
Like
mean, I
old
see. I
school
didn't really.
GTA.
I've never been a big Grand Theft Auto fan, and it's not. I mean, my parents were kind of conservative, so there was very few games.
Morally, you probably shouldn't.
You probably know this, yeah. You'd probably know this like growing up, but my parents like games were not like a big, huge news topic like they are now. And the big thing for me is that my parents heard about very few games, but they always seemed to hear about Grand Theft Auto, which is where you have sex with hookers and kill them. Yeah. That's what they saw in the game. So I didn't play it, and I wasn't like that disappointed about it because it was not.
It's just like real life.
That's what my dad didn't want me to find out.
GTA, the game that teaches you how to hide the body.
Underneath the car.
So it's interesting. I think, I like to gravitate more towards single player games in a lot of cases. And I think what they did with not having single player DLC after all the talk and the build up to it when the game first launched, and they're like, oh, we're more concerned about the remaster stuff. And they get to that, like, oh, it's okay. We're getting to the single player. And then they come out, a couple months ago and are like, yeah, it was never really possible.
Like, whatever. It was totally possible.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
No, you couldn't make money off of it.
Like,
so.
give me a solid, tangible reason why single player wasn't possible, but all these magical multiplayer things are. Like, I feel like single player would necessarily be easier, right? Like, I don't know.
Think that
squat about game development, but in my mind, it's like, wouldn't it be harder to make something that has to work for 60 people on a map than for one?
I was going to say sandbox or like staged environment. Like, what's the deal? So it's frustrating, as a single player gamer.
Considering Grand Theft Auto 4 had like two fantastic like single player DLCs. The Lost and Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony, that they were really, they sort of expanded upon the gameplay more and more and made like the story that much more rich. I mean, I quite liked the story with Grand Theft Auto 6. They kind of took that approach but put it into one campaign where you could just switch between obviously the three different people. Yeah. But it would have been nice to have seen that broadened a little bit more because I like single player stuff. I'm always a single player nut when it comes to these sort of games. Multiplayer, it's a nice distraction. For certain games, it's a little bit more, but I just like that single player, that sweet single player DLC.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think about because it's possible because we just saw Horizon put out DLC with the Frozen Wilds here a couple weeks ago, and if you haven't picked up Horizon Zero Dawn, you're an idiot and go away. It's what?
Okay, bye.
Dude, you didn't get it. That's easy. That could easily be the game of the year.
It should be game of the year.
It might not. I mean, because the talk is that it's
back, please. Am I an idiot still?
You're here. I hear you.
I hear you, but not nearly as loud as we used to.
It's because you told me to go away. I walked away.
Oh.
Oh man!
Now to the cool club.
So you're a single player guy. What's the reason for not playing Horizon Zero Dawn yet?
Money. There are so many games that are out at the moment that it's just not physically viable for me to actually spend
in-game currency on Grand Theft Auto. That's the problem.
That's what it is.
You got me. I'm an absolute shark cardaholic. I'm rolling deep in the shark card money. Yo.
I have a problem.
I have a gambling problem.
They are coming out. They
Take Two on helping. They're the initiators. Help me.
They are coming out with the complete edition, which it seems kind of like a weird title give of something that has one DLC, but there you go. So I think that comes out like December 5th. So if you're going to already get it, you might as well get the complete one with the new DLC. Yeah. But if you like the first game, the DLC is really great. And it's like 15 hours. The original game was like a 50-hour platinum trophy. And you play that, and you play the DLC another 15 hours, got some more trophies and stuff. And they've got New Game Plus and stuff like that. That's awesome. Great. Beautiful package. I have no problem paying $15, $20 for a DLC like that. Because I get my money's worth out of it. There's no pay to win. There's no loot boxes. And it's a game model that works. So
they have microtransactions in that game, don't they?
I don't think so. If they do,
I think they do.
I'd be surprised.
Because I follow Jim Sterling quite a bit. In one of his videos, he seemed to drop Horizon Zero Dawn as one of the games that had some microtransactions in there for no reason.
Well, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of what you would buy.
I was going to say,
I don't know.
Look,
you should tell me. You've played the game.
Yeah, say we platinumed it. I'm trying to think what you would buy.
I don't remember seeing anything you could buy.
Get you platinum trophies.
Yeah, we have. We'll pay $60 for online ego.
Right, I'm looking. I'm literally looking it up right now.
Yeah, there's a title.
So this is
here
weird
be a
installing.
gaff.
Oh, so it kind of was. There's no way to buy in-game currency, but you could buy mystery boxes from a merchant in Meridian, and the mystery boxes would have.
So it had loot boxes.
Yeah, it did, but it's not like microtransactions.
Yeah.
So it's not.
No.
I completely forgot about that guy. Not an important thing.
I don't remember running into that
And
guy.
I don't even think that like would count because
you can. I mean, honestly, like I
just
remember
in-game
nothing about
stuff.
that guy. There was nothing I needed to buy.
Yeah.
Like, and granted, that's like that in a lot of loot box games where you can run around and completely ignore them and
Assassin's
never
Creed,
even know.
Assassin's Creed Origins
Shadow
has
of
them.
War.
Shadow of War, another good one. Theoretically, we haven't played it yet. That's coming up. I'm getting that for Black Friday.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. What do you think? Have you played Shadow of War, Steve? Do you have any insight on that game? How that works?
Shadow of War, I haven't gotten around to playing, but I've read up and watched so much about it that I'm kind of on the fence because Shadow of Mordor was such a good game. I was really looking forward to this particular one. But from what I was sort of reading up about and hearing about their in-game economy system, it kind of put me off a little bit. So I might wait until it's down into a sort of sale price before checking it out.
Yeah.
Because there's who was it I heard from? I think I heard somewhere that apparently the true ending is locked away, or it's easier or quicker to get if you delve into loot crates with actual money to get more troops.
So it's an interesting.
The game artificially limits you to a point where you have to sort of tip yourself over the edge and go, actually, I'm going to get that extra orc with the giant hammer.
The way that the loot
this
boxes,
amount of money and get it in the box.
Yeah. So the way the loot boxes work is that you're able to get like legendary orcs, and you kind of have to know the game a little bit to kind of know what's going on. But it's basically like your troops, right? You want to have your leaders of your orcs and all that. That's what's in the loot boxes. And they say you can get through the campaign easy. There's 4 acts to the game, or maybe there's 5. I don't know. But the last act is where like the true ending happens. And so to do it, you have to go through like a bunch of sieges, and it's kind of boring. It's a little bit of a grind. They say it's anywhere from like 10 to 15 hours, which I'm like, well, if I enjoy the gameplay, that's not awful. I play Destiny for hundreds of hours. It's a normal thing for me. So they say that at that point, it's like, oh yeah, it's easier if you have the loot boxes, right? It's almost like a time saver. But
of course.
it's kind of a toss up for me. It's like I don't have to. A lot of things I've read say that people think it's fine to grind it. If you can't grind a game for 8 to 10 hours to get a true ending, then I mean, I don't know. It's not that bad.
It's the fact that they're building these games around this economy, because beforehand you would have games where the ending half would be a bit of a grind, just to kind of extend naturally the longevity of the game. Now you've got this economy in here where you've got now an option for these people to basically shortcut all of this to get to the true ending. And their kind of justification is normally trying to be kind of, this is just an optional thing. This is for people who are in a rush and people who have not much time on their hands. And in theory, on paper, I guess that kind of works. But when you actually kind of sit down and look at it, now that we've got Battlefront 2 as a prime example of a game that's built around this, built around all these shortcuts and people wanting and being encouraged to pay for these advantages and get to somewhere quicker, it's now kind of acting as a detriment to the actual integrity of some game experiences, especially single player stuff. Story-focused stuff, I feel personally should never, ever be touched by loot crates, any kind of microtransactions or any kind of pay-to-win system, because I just think it just loses a lot of its focus by doing that. It takes you out of the illusion when all of a sudden you've got a massive box up that says, oh, by the way, you can get these items a lot quicker if you spend actual money from your actual job to us by putting your details here and clicking here, and then maybe, just maybe, opening this box and getting what you want.
Right, because it's still random.
That's a bit weird.
So it's no, I agree with you. It sucks that they're in Shadow of War. Do you think with a Shadow of War game that this is on and types like this where it's there but it's not required and you can get around it? Like, do you think that's more on the publisher saying, "Hey, put these in," or do you think the developer is trying to do this?
100% yes. I really think that the publishers of these games are the more detrimental factor to it than the actual developers.
Yeah.
I feel really sorry for DICE.
Yeah.
DICE have spent months and months and months handcrafting this fantastic looking experience, because the first Battlefront I played a lot of. online. And it had its problems. It had the season pass that was £50 or however much it was in your country. I think it was like $50, $60, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was $50. It was $50.
Yeah. But you could tell that they had the passion there behind it to want to try and make a great Star Wars experience for people, and they loved their community. And then the hype kind of built for Star Wars 2 with E3 and the trailers and the fact they were introducing like several era, not just the original trilogy era items, prequel trilogy, sequel trilogy. And it was getting the hype train rolling and rolling and rolling. And with all this that's happened in the last month or so, especially the last few weeks, and of how DICE have reacted to it, DICE developers, I can't help but feel really sorry. And it seems almost like stark obvious to me, at least, that it's EA pulling the strings to push these microtransactions forward in this in-game economy is the primary focus, to build the rest of it around. If that does that make sense? Yeah.
No, that's right. I mean, that's what I think. You know, I think when we look at, you found an article with the Shadow of War developers.
The hiccup in our theory, because I thought the same way, and still do to a certain extent. But I was listening to another podcast of guys that have been in the industry for a while, finding articles of developers, separate developers, not DICE, coming out and being like, a lot of the times it's developers that push for microtransactions, and some of the biggest pushback comes from publishers, and I'm sure it's different on case-by-case basis.
Right.
But it's these developers of other games, I can't remember who it was specifically,
right,
saying like, yeah, developers a lot of times push for microtransactions, especially in games where you don't have season passes. You have to still make money on a certain level. But
of course, but that's great for free-to-play games. That's fantastic for free-to-play games that, you know, there's no initial charge for the consumer when they go to buy these games. A lot of this stuff's on mobile, you've probably noticed, where they just get a free app and then there's lots of extra stuff that you can play and pay for optional kind of skips and advances and whatnots to get what you want. That's kind of sort of become the bread and butter of most mobile experiences. And now, because they're now transitioning this to full-fledged games, they've got that extra $60 price tag or like 40 quid, 50 quid price tag in UK money, for example. And then on top of it, you've got this whole free-to-play economy on top of it, where they're expecting you to pay more and more and more and just sort of drip feed out of your own finances to kind of get the full experience. And that's where I feel it just doesn't work.
It's true.
No, it totally doesn't work.
It's true.
Bad model for Battlefront.
Obviously Battlefront 2 is the easiest one to point to right now. I think when we look at developers, there was an interview they had with the Shadow of War guys when all that stuff was happening with WB, and WB's PR firm has got to be like the worst ever, because the way they handled every single controversy that came out, they just were delayed with it. They didn't react properly. It looked like they had no idea what they were doing.
PR is worse than Donald Trump's.
Oh man, it was awful. And but so I mean, you could read in their interviews that it felt like the developers' hands were tied, because they'd ask them about it, and they just seemed really restrained, and they just didn't have much to say about it. And so it's like that was an instance where I think the developers were being asked to do something they didn't want to do. So I'm picking up Shadow of War mainly because for Black Friday it's $25 at GameStop. So I'm definitely getting that.
Price.
It's a good price.
It's for that sort of game.
Because I mean you're still talking like 50 or 60 hours where I don't have to touch loot boxes, and I get to have a great time in Lord of the Rings. They say in that game everything's improved on that was in the first game. If you liked it in the first game, it's better in the second game. And that's all right because I love the first game.
Maybe they can explain why they turned Shelob into an actual sexy woman. And
I know that is a strange. I don't know.
That's another reason why I've kind of steered a bit away is because I'm not a massive Tolkien nerd or nothing, but that was just weird.
Yeah,
and now every time I'm going to watch the last of the original Lord of the Rings films, it's just going to be like, oh no, this sexy woman dressed as a spider has got Frodo and carrying him away. It's just like
they did some marketing tests, and sexy spiders did not go over nearly as well as sexy women did.
I don't know about you, but I'm not sexually attracted to spiders, and I don't think Warner Brothers needed to really kind of make that a thing.
That's a really weird
that audience,
really weird audience to cater
to. Corner of the internet that finds tarantulas exciting, if I can really put it that way, as tame as possible.
I like that's a nice family-friendly way to say. Oh, I like spiders are exciting to me. So when we talk about loot boxes that do it poorly, and more specifically microtransactions, I mean the first one that comes up is Battlefront 2. I mean where do we start with how bad this is? It sucks. I mean I agree with you, Steve. The game that looks good. Like I played the beta, felt better than the first one. It just there's some things that are really nice about it, but I'm never gonna play it.
Yeah, everyone that's played it, reviewers and everything, like the game feels really good. It plays really good. The story is good for part of it, and for the most part, it's a good game. But the problem is, it's just got so much stink with those microtransactions, and they came out swinging like with such good punches of like, hey, here's Star Wars Battlefront 2, no season pass, all DLC is gonna be free, and we're all super hyped for it at E3, and we're like, this is gonna be great. And then we found out about these microtransactions after the beta, and they're like, oh no, we set prices based on beta. I'm like, how did you do that? There were no boxes in the beta. Nobody spent money on the beta. What do you mean we set it? But screw you, you're lying.
So where do you sit on this Battlefront 2 stuff, Steve? I know you're upset about it because you like Star Wars. You're a big Star Wars.
I love
guy.
Star Wars. I love one of my favorite Star Wars games especially when I was growing up, was a game called Star Wars Jedi Knight on PC, and that game was the tits. It was amazing. It let you be a Jedi both on like the light side, the dark side. You could use blasters, explosives. It was great fun. But on this particular argument, I'm actually in the process of getting a refund for my copy.
Yeah.
Ooh, was this a thing? So you got it on PC, did you? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Did they remove the refund button from the website? Did that actually happen?
What a rumor that we heard.
I heard the story, and the story I heard was like, who was it? EA removed the refund button from the website, and you had to actually call them and do that.
I saw the screenshots. Because I went in and out of Reddit for the Star Wars Battlefront quite frequently over like the last few days. I've been absolutely glued to it. It's been brilliant entertainment. But I actually saw the post that someone put when they were at customer support, and basically they showed that where the button should be, and it wasn't there. So everyone was like, "Oh no, God, EA are just like doing this because it's so shameless, and they don't want people to refund because of people refunding so many copies of the games and losing money." But it actually turns out that the refund option wasn't there for people who haven't had money debited out of their account. So they basically there's nothing for them to refund. At least that's what I read from a couple of other sources. So it was kind of a bit of a misleading type of argument.
Yeah, I never heard a conclusion on it.
I mean, everybody's wanting to jump on EA, and so they've been jumping on everything. Most things are, legitimate, but that one was like, there's no way they actually did that.
That sounds like a process to get rid of that button.
A little bit. Yeah, that's
60-minute waiting time, I think I heard.
Yeah, that's what something like 45, 60 minutes, which is, gosh, imagine how many people just like hung up and just like, I don't want to deal with it. I'll just pay this. Who has that kind of money to just be like, I'll just throw $60 away. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there is some like feeling bad to do for the people whose decision this wasn't. Like the guys answering the phones for refunds.
Yep.
Like those poor guys are getting screamed at every day by angry gamers. Which at the end of the day is what we are. We're mad at a game, and understandably so. But some guys are too mad. And people like devs that had nothing to do with the part of the dev team that had nothing to do with microtransactions. It's like, man, I was just designing doors. Like, well, I don't know what you want from me.
I just made some doors. What do you guys think is, we'll pretend that they haven't canceled the microtransactions. So everything we saw, all the news we heard, all the different options, what do you think was the most egregious thing that they were trying to get away with? I'll let you go first, Steve. I know, it's a good question.
Yeah, it is a very good question. I think the most egregious thing was the locking the most popular heroes behind a massive credit paywall.
It's huge.
Whereas before in the original Battlefront, yes, they were all the extra heroes were locked behind a season pass, but everything that came on the disc was available on the disc to play from the get-go. So you could play as Darth Vader, you could play as Luke Skywalker, Palpatine, Boba Fett, etc.
Up as Darth Vader if you were waiting for it to install.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's the fact that they locked away not only Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, Palpatine, Leia, and Chewbacca behind paywalls. They also made it so it was like 40 hours worth of gameplay. I think someone did the math to work it out to get enough credits to be able to unlock one, just one, not all of them. And that's what caused started the whole ball rolling. And I think that's the best way to sort of say that that's the most egregious thing that they've done, because that's the one that sort of started it all, so to speak. And now we're here.
Because when the whole stink started, it was like, oh, they locked progression behind these loot boxes and these random drops. And there are other games that do that in a similar fashion, like Destiny came to mind. We talked about this. like, oh, you have to unlock certain guns by just playing the game, and you get it not for playing long enough, but for getting a drop that happened to have it in it. But Star Wars was a little bit different in that your whole character level was tied to the drop, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was really, but like we didn't find out until the beta because obviously we had no idea. You get your hands on it, and it's like, oh, well, you can carry more cards at a time if you're a higher level. How do you level up your character? You get more cards for it. So by getting more cards, then you can add more cards, which I mean. That's asinine. Like, that's stupid.
It's too random.
Oh,
there's no clear sense of progression. Because if you think about it, in most... Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Basically, if you think about the previous games or any other kind of online shooter games, especially Destiny 2, which is a great game, by the way, not being paid by Bungie at all. Basically,
but if you're willing to, Bungie,
sponsored by
please
Activision.
Sponsor me. That'd be great. I'm free. If you progress through certain levels and certain light levels, you have a higher chance of getting certain loot, certain drops, and it feels like you're earning and working towards something. Whereas the progression that's tied into Battlefront 2, like you said, it's all randomized. You get a loot crate you can get credits to get a loot crate, and everything that goes into these loot crates is completely randomized. And even the way they handle duplicates is just stupid, because you get credits for obviously getting a duplicate of it, but it's nowhere near enough as what it should be to sort of compensate you for having another duplicate. And you can even get crates that give you higher level power-ups or any kind of cards for characters you don't even have. So you could open up your first loot crate in a Battlefront 2 match, and it could be just, I don't know, super duper blue swing move for Yoda or something like that, or sit down and drink a mojito and have a respirator break for Darth Vader or something. I don't know. It's just, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It just seems a bit counterintuitive. It's a complete train wreck.
It's impressive horrible. How badly they did. And so, I mean, do you think they did that badly and just had no idea? Or were they really just trying to let's see how stupid people are?
How much can we get away with?
Like, I think it had to be at least a little bit intentional. Yeah. Like, they knew what they were doing. These backup plans certainly seemed to come up very quickly after the outrage started.
Oh, yeah.
So it makes you think that they were waiting in the wings with it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say what you guys thought about it, really.
You know, I mean, all of it sucks. It all sucks. There's one, the arcade mode locks you out of getting credits after playing it like 3 or 4 times or 5 times, whatever it was. You can't get any credits for like 14 hours afterwards. They're like, oh, well, they came out and addressed it. And there's like, oh, well, yeah, it might give you more credits and you could farm them and then you could go and get an advantage in multiplayer. Like, but it's not, it's pay to win is what you're telling. I just can't believe that they that's just like an okay thing for them.
Can I just say something about that? What I want to add to that is, do you know that the fact that the offline way of farming credits is also restricted to a time limit? Like, you can only do arcade mode to get credits a certain amount of time before it stops you.
Right.
Exactly. When I was reading the Ask Me Anything they had on Reddit, which, by the way, I think you should read if you haven't already, because it is just an absolute train wreck. Almost had
their AMA.
Stop myself something. Yeah. But one of the things that they basically tried to point out was the reason why they did limit the arcade mode is because they didn't want people to gain an advantage by getting credits offline, so they can then get an advantage online. But that's kind of then proven us right.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because they've fallen into their own trap of basically saying that, oh, these credits don't give you an advantage. This is all stuff that's completely random. It's all balanced, everything. Yep. But then one of the developers from DICE basically turned around and said, oh, the reason why we turned off arcade credit farming is because we didn't want people to get an advantage in multiplayer. It's either an advantage or not, people. Make your damn minds up.
That AMA, it was always going to be a train wreck. That was really, and in tops of like, I get their reasoning by doing it. They're like, oh, we can get out in front of this. We can cut the controversy off at its head. And then they just had the same canned responses for literally everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're taking it into account. We're actively making changes, and we're here for your feedback. And that's what they said for every single question, except for the ones they totally screwed up, like that one.
Yeah.
So it's just, I've never seen someone handle this so poorly in literally every aspect.
It's mind-boggling how they can do this, because these are the same people that own Respawn. who produce Titanfall.
Oh God!
And Titanfall 2 is like hailed as a wonderful game by the people that play it.
Yeah,
Not
great system.
It's just like
and so then they go in and absorb
another victim
the
for the
studios.
scalping.
It's
Added to the
awful. I mean,
pile
when you
next to
look at
Visceral and Bullfrog and Westwood Studios and basically anything that's produced anything good.
it's awful. It's one of those things where you think like, from the outside perspective, when you're not paying that much attention, you just go by like, oh, those people did a game like 4 or 5 years ago and it wasn't that great, and then they got absolved, moved on. It's like, well, that's not really how it's working. EA's buying properties up, buying these IPs, and then completely decimating them in order to make money.
Right.
And the problem is that they're making money hand over fist.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God,
if you look at something like their sports games, more importantly FIFA, that's more of a worldwide thing. Here we have Madden, but like FIFA, the Ultimate Team, it's really cool. Like the thought process is really awesome. I want to build my team with Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi and the guy that bites the ears off of people and whatever. Like all of those really awesome footballers,
Mike
right? Like
Tyson.
that's a really cool thing for me. Yeah, Mike Tyson as a football player. But that's a really cool concept. It's like, sweet, I would love to play that because it's basically a card game and you have a superstar team. Well, the problem is that there's like 1,000 different ways to buy stuff with your money.
Oh my God.
And so
NBA 2K18 is a prime example with this. Have you seen how badly their microtransactions are?
Oh, it's so bad.
I stopped looking
worse.
after like the second week in a row we talked about it.
I'm surprised it
so
didn't give you
bad.
PTSD or something. Like every time you see a basketball, you just flash back to NBA 2K18.
Which sucks because when you look at the actual basketball of 2K, it improves year over year. And 2K18's probably one of its better basketball years in terms of like being a true basketball sim, being very accurate, being very hard, being a huge learning curve. Like it's all there. Then the problem was like they screwed up haircuts. Like you had to buy your haircut with your VC, right? Which is what your virtual currency. And then you had to, if you wanted to go back and say like change haircuts, you couldn't preview it. You had to look at it in a little thumbnail. And then if you wanted to like change later on, you already bought that haircut. Well, now you got to pay for it again.
That's ridiculous.
If you want to go back and get it. It's so stupid. That's like, why?
Backwards.
Why is that a thing? And it's literally like
How
that.
could you screw up a
every
haircut?
aspect of it.
Of all the things in basketball. Such a
Like I should be able to
thing.
change my hair at will. This is a video game at its core. This is stupid. So how many people went out there and bought like a $5 pack of VC and changed their hair like 10 times? Because it happened. There's some idiot 10-year-old kid out there that did that and thinks it's okay, and now he's got like this mental image of what he expects like real world to be.
I mean,
that's a little oversimplification.
Well, I mean, like that's going to be a thing I think we're about to see, right?
Right.
Is the kids that are growing up in this system. That microtransactions are normal to them.
This is normalizing
that is normal to them. That's somebody's first game.
Yeah.
Yep.
NBA 2K18.
So
they're gonna get that and
depressing.
be like, oh, well, this kind of sucks, but it's what games are. And then they're gonna grow up and they're gonna
Yeah, I
become
know.
the people that buy games all the time and be like, oh, microtransactions aren't a big deal.
Right.
They've always been part of my gaming experience.
I mean,
so why are we so upset about them?
One thing that's just sprung into my brain is, did you hear about the story of some guy who played Mass Effect 3's multiplayer and spent £15,000 or dollars or something
my
on their Loot Crate system?
That's awful. I didn't realize Mass Effect had loot
Yeah,
crates.
it had
That's because no one played it.
No.
Everyone played Mass Effect 3.
I played it
Everyone
up
just
until the
hated it.
ending and then decided to burn it, like, several times. I hate
Right.
that.
Bought another
game.
copy just to burn it.
Well, did you play the edited ending? That was so much better.
And that was still shite. It was still
I heard it
rubbish.
was awful.
It was horrible.
What do you mean? So catering to what your gaming audience wants doesn't work out all the time? Amazing.
I know, right?
Jeez.
And also a
Yeah,
slideshow.
it's
Just
sad.
a note, EA. A slideshow is not a great ending replacement for proper
Like
cutscenes
seeing
and
just
character development.
storyboards.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So, it's concept art. It's revolutionary.
I felt like I was
you could see what
watching
the game looked like.
an end of meeting PowerPoint presentation from the story devs about an idea they had for the ending. But they thought,
So it was like, oh,
screw it, we'll
crap,
just put it
digitize
in there
that.
anyway. They won't notice.
No one's playing the game anymore anyways.
No.
Yeah, it's
just a
it's
shame.
amazing when you look at, I tried looking up lists of like bad like loot games, and it was either mobile games or EA games were like the top like 10,
Yeah.
Oh, and
10 or
Activision.
15 that I watched.
Don't forget that.
Oh, and Activision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Activision does it kind of sneakily because they've been doing it for so long that you kind of just forget about it,
Well,
right?
it's easy to sneak it in now because EA is up there making a racket, being like, "Look at our loot boxes," and then everyone's kind of like,
Yeah.
"Here's
that
ours." But we're
sentiment
just gonna
there
slide that
basically
in.
sums up that the World War II loot box system, like in the fact that you've got loot crates dropping in onto players in a hub that's on Normandy Beach, and it rewards other people for watching people open their loot crates and turning it into a massive spectacle.
It's stupid.
It is stupid.
I don't why? Like I said, loot boxes that are cosmetic, I'm always going to be okay with. I think like if we need injections, I get that the when we look at the pricing of games, I think that's the unsustainable model that we're running up against. And there has to be a way for people to make money off a game outside the initial price. There has to be. I get that. The development costs no longer justify $60 for a game.
No.
But if you change it to $80 or $100, you're never going to sell a game because your audience is just going to disappear.
I think the problem is someone's just got to do it. Like, well, normally it would have been like the EAs of the world, but no one's going to buy EA games for the next couple of years.
Right.
But not until they fix
the thing is, like, your Naughty Dogs, your
I love those guys.
Media Molecule, like these big, so well-loved studios come out with these wonderful story games. Like, not that this is happening because Uncharted's done, but like they say, Uncharted 5 is gonna be $70.
Yeah, 70 or
and
80
we're gonna
or
like,
whatever.
And they say you should come out and be brutally honest. Neil Druckmann steps out in front of everybody and says, "Guys, development costs more money than it ever has before."
Yep.
And we've been on the same price point for a console generation and a half now, so we have to charge more. I'm sorry, I know that sucks, but we promise you the games will keep getting better. Just money's just going to keep getting up as well.
It's going to have to be like established franchises stepping out and being very intentional about it. You can't just like casually throw that out there.
Can't do that with Call of Duty.
And because then, I mean, you got to think about the majority of gamers, right? The majority of gamers are not on Reddit. They're not trolling the forums all the time. They're not jumping in at GameStop every day looking for new games, right? They're the ones that walk by at Walmart or whatever fake store you guys have over in UK. And they look at the games and you see 60, you see 70. You're not going to buy a $70 game. Doesn't matter how good it is.
That's the audience they're targeting with these microtransactions are the massive casual player base, because they are the people that they're not exactly wise to this type of corporate behavior. They're just kind of looking at a game on a shelf in, well, our Walmart is called Asda, but it's owned by Walmart. Weird bit of trivia there from UK. You're welcome.
There you go.
But they're looking at a game that's going to be cheap enough to buy, and so they can get it for their son, daughter, or other half themselves, and it's not going to break the bank. They don't care necessarily whether or not it's got these crates in, or whether or not it's going to be a pay-to-win experience per se. But that's where EA and all these companies and Activision are going to be making a killing with these loot crates and everything. These microtransactions is from that audience. It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame.
I mean,
it's just like they're playing a bit. It seems a bit kind of predatory.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, that's what they're doing. They're capitalizing on those kids and the credit card industry that we have nowadays. Just like you swipe it and you put in whatever you want, and it's not real money. You're not handing cash to somebody. You're not. That's just what's happening.
Yeah.
And
it's
sucks.
There's the fact that they can switch these off now with a press of the button, which is quite interesting, because they make it out like
they're ready to be like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like with Star Wars, it was just kind of a case of like an hour or something before it went live. It just got turned off, like boom, done. So when they make the argument that it's all intrinsic to this and we can't turn these off because they're an integral part of the experience, it's all rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Oh, yeah. It is, and that's the frustrating part. They've always seemed to have a backup plan that was ready really fast, and I just, like I said, I don't know how game development works. I don't know how easy or hard any of this stuff is, and I don't care to comment on what that is because that's not my industry. But it's there was no way that they weren't prepared for this, and every step back they've taken was already calculated, and they already knew it's like, all right, we're going to try and push this. If they push back, we'll just come down a step. We'll just come down another step. Yeah.
Sorry. I don't mean to keep interrupting you guys, sorry.
It's fine.
I feel kind of bad.
That's what you're here for. No, that's what you're here for. It's good, man.
I was basically going to say I find it quite funny also that the fact that these transactions got turned off as immediately after like Belgian and Dutch news started sort of investigating into like both EA and Disney as well.
Yeah.
Because they own Star Wars.
That's the other piece.
Into child
That's
gambling.
The kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even know. I don't know how big Disney is like worldwide, but I know what it's like in America.
Massive.
And literally basically everything runs through Disney, right? In some form. They've got content all over the place. They've got TV, they've got movies, they got games, they got merchandise. And there were reports that came out a few hours after they announced it, some unconfirmed reports that said that Disney was non-directly threatening to pull the exclusivity for Star Wars. Like it came to that. That's some high-level execs at Disney and EA Those are the reports that have been coming out in the last couple of days.
I got a name from one article of the exact person that told them to say, pack it in, lads.
Yeah, and it was
quite high up. It was basically the guy who's in charge of their interactive division, entertainment division. It was big.
Yeah, when you piss off the House of the Mouse, it's not good.
The mouse himself might show up at your door.
Like the one from South. Have you ever seen South Park where they have like Mickey Mouse? And he's basically just kind of like a mafia gangster boss or something.
Yes.
He just comes in and just hits the guys over the head with a baseball bat. Like, ha ha! You stop putting this stuff in our games. Oh, break your kneecaps.
Yeah, it makes me think it was the one they were with the Jonas Brothers, I think. Maybe that was an episode of Family Guy. But it's definitely that's a Disney thing. But you saw
Breaking
there was
kneecaps.
a post a few days ago before they canceled it. There was like a Facebook style meme, right? That was like a paragraph, like in a poster form, that was talking about how it was gambling, and like the idea was to reach out to like parents and non-gamers to like inform them that this was gambling, and then shortly after everything kind of tumbled. So it's props to Reddit and props to the internet for creating these things and actually pushing back. That's what got this to happen. And
Reddit are doing
sure, it's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to fix the industry. It's not going to fix all our problems, and it's not all going away. But it is impressive to see how everyone was able to finally get the point that we've been missing for years as gamers, I think.
Yeah, and that does bring up kind of a good point here. Is are loot boxes really gambling?
I think they are.
I'm kind of like, I don't know, because I know like the official definition of gambling will be like, oh, spending money to get a random chance of something. But to me, like, when you gamble, the gamble part of it is, actual like casino gambling, is that you may not get anything back.
All right,
and that's to me, and like when you spend money in a game, you're going to get something. in the world of like, well, you don't know what you're going to get. It's like, well, you don't know what you're going to get when you buy the game. Is just buying games gambling?
So here's two definitions from gamble from I don't know a dictionary, probably Webster's.
Probably should be.
Let's say Webster's. So gambling, not a real thing. No, it says gambling is either play games of chance for money. And then the second definition is take risky action in the hope of a desired result.
Yeah, but
desired result is the key.
Yeah, but that means you gamble when you spend your $60 or your 50 quid on a game, right? Like I spent $60 on Madden hoping it was going to be good.
Yeah.
Like I spent however much money on Destiny hoping I was going to get this game, hoping I was going to get this gun in the game. How's that different from voluntarily spending your money and yes, it does play on the same gambling things, but I think calling it gambling is just like, and demonizing it that way, it's kind of like, it's not really gambling, is it?
Well,
like,
it is and it isn't. In the legal sense, it's not gambling, but in a lot of other ways, it kind of is. It's a tough one. It is a very tough one, but I feel like this kind of could be traced back to something like Counter-Strike Go, where people can essentially there are whole channels now have been dedicated to like these online gambling sites where they basically roll the dice and get a skin, and then you can use those skins for those guns to sell for actual in like real world money, which is I think those two YouTubers, Team Arted and Syndicate, got into real trouble about it because they were actually shareholder owners of those two websites. Naughty.
Destroyed.
But
yeah, that was bad.
I know what you mean, but you always get an outcome. You always get an outcome, a nice one when you put money into these or open a loot box or something. There's always something you get. May not be what you wanted, but it's something. And I think that's kind of where they're getting around it. It's a kind of
I mean, I think
loophole.
I think if we're talking about, I think about, as a dad, I think about my kid, right? And thinking about this idea of like, put in money. This is a slot machine is what it is, right? That's what these loot boxes are. Put in money. You may or may not get what you want, right? And it's that addiction to like pulling that lever. And there's plenty of stories out there if you want to go and read, and sure, it's personal anecdotes, right? Of people that have, been addicted to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, just one more pull, right? Just one more try. I'm going to get it. And that's not any different than a casino. So I'm not going to say that maybe it should be classified as gambling or it shouldn't, but I think it's a problem and that it needs to stop.
Well, I think the fix for it is getting rid of it in one sense.
Right.
But like the same thing you see on mobile games. Whenever you pull up a mobile game in the App Store or when a game loads up, it says there are in-game transactions here. And if you have the problem with that, you have to know you can't play that game.
Yep.
You have to know you have to step away from it, just like you have to know if you're an alcoholic, you can't go to a bar.
It's true.
So there's some onus on the people around.
Yeah,
right?
I've just actually found a really interesting kind of post on the Star Wars Battlefront Reddit. It's why loot boxes are in fact a form of gambling, analysis from a game developer. And it's quite an interesting read. It kind of touches on some of the points that both of you guys have made about this. And I can link you guys if you want to take a quick look at it.
Yeah, that's
drop
fine.
a link in there. We'll throw it up in the description below, so you guys can also.
I think everyone should take a look at it. To be fair, I mean, everyone should take a look at this Reddit in some shape or form because there's a lot of stuff here. If you want to kind of get more in the know to do with what's been going on, this is a great place to start.
Sure. Yeah, it's good. We'll toss this link down below. Yeah, exactly. So it's it does come back to that argument of like winning something. You always get something for it, even if it's not what you want. So it's something to consider. I don't think that argument's going to get anywhere.
No, I don't think that's the argument we should really be focusing on. I feel like you and I haven't had a good chance to talk about it. Yeah. I thought it'd be great to dialogue about it.
No, it's good.
Steve in the room metaphorically.
How about we talk about Steve. Like back to Battlefront 2? What would you think would be? I know, unfortunately, it's the elephant in the room. It's the. It's one thing I'd love to know is what would you guys feel would be a great way to fix the system that's in place at the moment to make it
get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Just get rid of it.
Just level up. Just level up. Oh, I've used my heavy class, and I have used that enough to get enough experience to get to level 10. Now I unlock this other gun. That's it. Honestly, it's the simplest progression. It's not hard.
Where that's done well?
Where?
Another dice game. Battlefield 1.
No way.
Like, they've already done it.
What about Battlefront 1?
It exists
the same thing about
in the game.
I just don't get it.
Put that into
It's such an easy system.
2.
And so if the argument is going to be, well, how are we going to make money? I got it. How about you give us skins in, fine, give them in loot boxes if you want to. But you know what I'd love to play as? Darth Vader in all red or white or polka dots. That'd be freaking cool.
Shiny.
Awesome. That'd be awesome.
Put Darth Vader up there at that 60,000 credit thing or wherever they put it down to now.
Yeah.
Darth Vader without his mask on. Like, give us those cool top tier skins. Luke in all black. Like, put those sweet skins up at the top of that scar card limit.
Anakin Skywalker as a kid.
Oh my goodness, Jake Lloyd. If we could lay into Jake Lloyd online or Jar Jar, that would be hysterical.
Watto.
That's easy.
Let me play as Watto.
Literally, you could print money.
Like
that's not a hard thing to do.
C-3PO or something.
But they just didn't do it, and it's frustrating and stupid. Because I would buy loot boxes if I could make a Jar Jar Binks out of Darth Vader, like all the Darth Vader powers, but like a Jar Jar Binks like
or just
costume
remove his helmet
wears.
and it's just Jar Jar underneath.
I love it.
I've known it all along.
But I would want James Earl Jones' voice doing a Jabba, doing an impression.
I am your father's Misa, your
Misa, your father.
Yes,
it sounds like the
Yes, I think that would be good. So to wrap up on a good note, you mentioned you haven't been playing Horizon Zero Dawn because you're a loser. So what have you been playing lately, Steve? We always try to talk about like what stuff we've been playing. So what have you been playing the last couple of weeks? I'm curious.
I've been playing a lot of Destiny 2. Been
you
quite hooked on that, and I've been playing with Mr. Stoneman, Mr. Ed, and everyone else.
I'm so glad that the PC gaming
over there on PC?
gets to experience this. I know it's not perfect. We'll talk about Destiny till the cows come home. End game's not perfect. Once you hit 305, you got everything you want.
Game is the end game.
The Leviathan raid we're still yet to beat. We're hopefully trying tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, it's on our list too.
Some of us still get to start.
We love the game. They're making changes as we go. They're improving stuff, and sure, some people are pissed, but I've put in 100 hours.
Yeah, we probably put in a little bit over 100 hours.
I could put in more, but I'm enjoying other games, and I don't feel like I have to jump right back into Destiny every single night like I did with the first one.
No.
So I'm glad you're enjoying it though. You never know with PC gamers coming into a console game how it's going to go. They're very different.
Really well optimized. Like, and the transition from console to PC is just seamless. Really impressed.
Yeah. That's important. Yeah. What about you, Jake? What have you been playing?
I got into Assassin's Creed Origins a little bit this weekend.
Yeah. You were pretty busy this week. You were pretty busy.
I was working for like 8 days, including the day that we're recording this. So I'm thankful that Thanksgiving is coming up, so I can get some time not working.
Yeah, I've been. I was at a point when Destiny 2 came out. That was like the only game I had. I'd finished a lot of my backlog. I'd kind of caught up. I've got a couple from like some E3 sales that I still need to work through. I still need to finish Dishonored, which is a really cool game.
Good luck with
That's
Yeah.
a good game.
Yeah, it's not
a
so
really
good
good
for a
game.
tank character.
You like your tanks, don't you?
Yeah, it's just me. I don't like patience.
You'd make a good Reinhardt.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
in a stealth game,
exactly.
you might have a bad time if you're a tank character.
Oh
trying
yeah,
to tank
I do.
it.
It's nice. The nice thing about Dishonored is that it wants you to go stealth, but if you don't go stealth, there's plenty of options, and it doesn't totally punish you for it.
Yeah.
Which is the only way I can play that game because I don't have the patience. Like I've been playing through Origins on my Xbox because it was one of the free games we got with it with our bundle, and I've been trying to do stealth. And I'm actually getting better.
It's a lot easier to do
mainly
stealth
because
than
I got a better bow where I can get headshots with one. So I'll whistle somebody
Nice.
over and shank them, and then I'll pull out the bow and hit another guy. And it's really fun. Like it's hard because
Origins makes it easier to do stealth.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty
way
it's
easier
nice.
to mark targets.
Yeah, I really like the Eagles. So I've been playing a lot of that. Did a little bit of Halo from the Master Chief Collection because
Oh, wow.
I have never owned an Xbox console, and so I've never played Halo outside of like my friend's basement. Every once in a while. So
Yes, good games.
getting to that's why we got the Xbox. It was
That's what
because
most people
we
did.
haven't. Yeah, I was gonna say doesn't
True.
have Halo.
That is amazing.
Didn't have Gears of War. Forza Horizon 3 is $15 at Target for Black Friday, so I'm getting that. And then that's all the exclusives, right? There's nothing else.
Pretty much.
Oh, Super Lucky's Tale.
Oh, there you go.
Obviously, I'm
in
that.
Thieves come up,
4K.
Yeah, they were like touting that as like some awesome Xbox One X.
I
And I'm like,
know it's their flagship
It's
title
super-
that
it's a
isn't a
it's a
multi-platform
5-hour game to 100%. Like
Yeah.
that's I'm gonna get it maybe, but yeah. So that's gonna do it. Do you have anything to add there, Jake?
No, I was about to say, that's going to wrap up our show today. Thanks for joining us, Steve. It's been awesome.
It's been great to have. Great to be here. I can't speak.
It's okay.
Thanks for
It's
having
okay.
me, everybody.
Yeah, Steve, for just one more time, why don't you give your channel a quick plug?
Yeah, give us 30
What's
seconds.
coming up, maybe?
What you got?
Well, you can find my YouTube channel at youtube.com/SteveOfWarr. That's with 2 R's. And my next projects I've got working up, I'm working on a review for the Nicolas Cage film Wicker Man at some point, and that's going to be a good one. I've finished the scripting, so it's just getting to shooting the thing and recording. And I've got a video on the quite quirky indie title I Am Bread coming up, how I can show a more sinister side to what is quite possibly a very over-the-top friendly game, how it has quite a dark side and undertone to the actual story. It has a story.
It is a very weird game.
It is
No,
a
I'm
weird
sad we haven't
game.
played
It's
it.
brilliant, but so hard.
Such are the
Very,
limitations
very
when you don't
hard.
have a
It
PC.
tests you in ways that my brain just, I don't think has ever functioned before and continues not to. So it's a wicked bit of fun. But I'm looking forward to getting
Awesome.
that out to you guys, so I hope you enjoy it.
I could sit here and listen to your accent all day.
Oh,
man.
thanks.
It's
Quite
just
literally.
it's enchanting.
Thanks, Governor.
Maybe ugh, never mind.
It's definitely not how we got on this call. That'd be weird.
Right.
All right, guys, like I said, normally we do the show Thursday 10 a.m. Next week, we'll be on the regular schedule talking gaming news. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @IRGames. Go follow Steve's channel. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.